Hello, and welcome back to the Pop Culture Junkie podcast. My name is Shauna, and I am here with
Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I am so excited. I'm going to come to Phoenix tomorrow, and then I am going to go all over the United States. I'm going coast to coast. I'm going to New York City. I'm going to upstate New York. So we are freeing the woes of capitalism for an entire week. It is amazing.
I love that. I know I'm excited that you're coming to Arizona and I get to see you at least for like a night. We're gonna go out for some dinner.
Some pickle pizza.
Gluten-free, of course. I snagged a ticket today to the Black Parade.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, I did.
When are they playing in Phoenix?
They're playing Chase Field in Arizona, which is very strange, like the baseball arena. I've never been to a concert there, so curious to see what it will be like, but it's not until September 2026, so 1 year from now.
Okay.
Yes, but I am so excited. And I felt like if I didn't snag one, that I was just going to miss out and they were just going to get way too expensive because they were already crazy expensive today. So I'm a little high up, but I realized I didn't like talk about it with anybody. So I just bought one for myself.
That's amazing.
So I'm just going to go alone.
We got My Chemical Romance. We got Lady Gaga. Oh,
yes.
It's amazing.
I know. I'm so excited. Like now I just need AFI to come to town and I'm going to be all set.
So you can see them for the 100th time.
I know. I've seen them so many times and I still want to see them more.
Who do you think you've seen more, Ghost or AFI?
Oh, it's getting close. I feel like at this point, probably AFI, but it's getting close.
Okay.
I've seen My Chemical. This will be the third time I've seen My Chem. I've seen Lady Gaga like 5 times too. So I see all of my favorite things a whole lot.
Yeah.
And speaking of favorite things, today we're going to take a look at an older TV show that I don't think we've ever talked about before.
Never mentioned, never come up.
It's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of it? So we have mentioned it a lot on the show, but we have never done an entire episode devoted to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It is a show that took the world by storm, well, part of the world anyway, back in 1997, almost 30 years ago. And the Buffy-Verse, I know. And the Buffy-Verse didn't collapse when the show ended. There is more Buffy to look forward to. So we are going to do Buffy the Vampire Slayer 101 today. I am dressed the part if you were watching on video. I have my Buffy and Spike shirt.
Oh, looks so good.
Thank you.
I feel like before we dive into what I've been calling the Buffy for beginners, I'm going to give you a little bit of Shauna and Olivia lore.
Yes,
so
love that.
It was the COVID times. It was technically 2021, but we're all still living in that world.
Yeah.
And Shauna is serving me some ciders, and I start talking about how I'm rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And of course, it was just an instant love affair from there. But one of the early ways that Shauna and I became really close friends was talking about our shared love for Buffy. So we think that Buffy is amazing. Buffy starts amazing friendships and amazing podcasts. So
totally agree.
We wanted to bring you guys like, okay, what is this show from 1997? If you've never seen it, it is truly amazing. And I mean, it started our mutual love for Sarah Michelle Gellar. And just the iconic 90s television and movie queen. Like,
oh my God, she's amazing. It is funny sometimes when I tell people, like, oh, my dog's name is Buffy. They'll be like, after the Vampire Slayer? And then I go, yeah, that's right. Best show of all time. Or if I tell people my favorite show of all time is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, most of the time people think it's cool. But then every once in a while you'll get like younger people who are like, never seen it. Like everyone's at least heard of it. And I'm like, oh my God, you have to watch it. Okay. So the basics of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's start there. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer is an American supernatural drama, horror fantasy, coming of age series that originally aired from 1997 to 2003. I didn't watch it for the first time until I was in college between 2007 to 2011.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
My roommate, Jessica, and I watched it together from beginning to end in college when we lived together in our apartment, and we immediately became obsessed. And then watched Angel immediately after. Did you watch it while that was airing on TV?
Yeah, so I actually watched it with my dad. My dad is notorious for letting me watch things that I absolutely should not have been watching. Like, I saw The Poltergeist when I was 5.
Oh my God, me too. That movie terrified me as a child. Oh my God.
But yeah, so I would watch it with him. We would also watch Angel, which is like a spin-off series from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But we would watch it together. Of course, my dad was like, "Oh, she's hot," you know, like, so he was watching it, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to see vampires." So I feel like I would watch it on. It was like a syndicated show for a really long time. So even though it ended in 2003, like, it was on TV all the time. I think I probably caught like onto it in the later seasons, just because, you know, I don't know how much I was retaining it at 4 years old.
Yeah.
I do remember watching it with my dad all the time, and Angel as well. So I was probably like 7.
Oh my God, that is
when
so
I
cute.
first started watching it. And
I love that.
It's funny. I talked to my dad about it, where I'm like, "Oh yeah, like, I love the show. We would always watch it together." And he's like, "What?"
He doesn't remember. All he remembers is Sarah Michelle Gellar, hot.
Eliza Dushku, hot. You know, and I don't blame him for that.
No,
but,
they're both gorgeous.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's like a core memory for me and my dad watching shows. And
he's like, I don't remember that fucking thing about that. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, you know, most dad things there.
No,
but
that's fair.
yeah, it was, I mean, like, just such iconic television. I think they were scary looking vampires too. Like, they were unique looking vampires.
The makeup effects, like the beginning, the effects get better as the show goes on. It is definitely a product of its time, so some of it doesn't quite, you know, live up today, but they were scary vampires. The show has that perfect level between being scary, being romantic, being really funny. So it was created by Joss Whedon, who's served as the showrunner, especially early on. So the TV series is based on a 1992 film of the same name, which was also written by Joss Whedon, but starred Kristy Swanson as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And it was definitely a lot different than the show ended up being. It's a lot cheesier. I like the movie. I think it's fine. They're very different products from each other. I see them as very standalone, which they are. And I think that was Whedon's first shot at, like, I have this idea. I want to try making it. And then he did and was like, that didn't quite hit the mark if I wanted. Let's actually do this how I see it in my head. But it's a cute movie.
Yeah, I think it makes sense why the movie wouldn't necessarily work. Like, I do think coming of age is quite perfect for it. Yeah. Where it, you know, you see these characters come throughout, and what makes them so good is their growth and their silliness, and it's hard to
the character development for sure.
Yeah, make a supernatural film that doesn't have a super scary villain and like a good tied in a bow ending. But part of what makes the Buffy the Vampire the show so good is it's ongoing, and there's all these different like supernatural creatures that you're ultimately trying to deal with. And it is serious. It has serious topics within it as well, but it has this like sarcastic, like punchy humor as well.
Oh my gosh. The Buffy speak is so funny. Let's get to the cast and the key characters before we get too deep into the themes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So the show features an ensemble cast. The central figure is obviously Buffy Summers. It's played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. Honestly, I could never imagine someone else in that role.
Oh my God, right.
There was before it.
Perfect.
We have Rupert Giles, which is Anthony Stewart Head, Buffy's watcher and mentor. We have Willow Rosenberg, who is Allison Hannigan, and she's Buffy's best friend and eventually a witch. A lesbian witch.
A lesbian witch.
Yeah, and Xander Harris, Nicholas Brendan, another core friend. He kind of functions as like this everyman in supernatural stakes. He is very much like the butt of the joke because he's a man, but he's the least powerful and the least capable. Yeah. And then we have a lot of reoccurring characters like Angel, Spike, Faith, Dawn, ultimately. But It is so many people that you know and recognize from the 90s. And then Seth Green, of course. So there are so many different characters within it and people who came to the show. We actually saw Pedro Pascal in the show as well.
His first major acting role.
Yes, and it's goth Pedro Pascal. So if you've ever seen that meme, that's where it is from. Fun. Very hot.
So Buffy ran for 7 seasons with 144 episodes, which is insane. And then did have the spinoff show Angel, which ran for 5 seasons. Towards the end, they did kind of run overlapping with each other.
Yep.
So Buffy shows up in one episode of Angel. Angel kind of shows up in Buffy. He is a staple for the first 3 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and her main love interest. The show did start in the WB network, the one with the dancing frog. Millennials have that core memory.
Miss that frog.
Hello, my baby.
Better times.
Hello, honey. Better times. And then after season 5, we're going to have a few spoilers for Buffy the Vampire Slayer in here.
Yeah.
After Buffy dies, quote unquote dies, it moved to UPN for season 6 and 7. And all of their promos were like, Buffy rises again on a new network. Amazing, iconic promos.
Yeah, ultimately, you really cannot. That's good marketing. That's good timing. That's good marketing.
Perfection.
And the show itself is set in a fictional Southern California town called Sunnydale, which is situated atop a hellmouth, which is a locus of like mystical energy that draws in supernatural like threats and creatures. And Buffy is in a line of slayers. So slayers are technically young women with enhanced strength, reflexes, and healing. And they are kind of predestined to fight vampires, demons, and other supernatural dangers.
Into every generation, a slayer is born. She alone will protect the world.
And then somehow it's like, well, there's multiple.
There's a few like conundrums where we get multiple slayers because Buffy dies like multiple times throughout the show.
Right, exactly. And so it's quite funny, and Buffy like doesn't go it alone. For every slayer, they are guided by a watcher, which is Giles within the show, and
sexy.
She's assisted by her friends, almost like her Scooby Gang, which is funny because Sarah Michelle Gellar later did Scooby-Doo.
And they call themselves in the show the Scooby Gang or the Scoobies. Yeah.
She was really fortuitous on her future acting gigs there, but they kind of get, just like the Scooby Gang, get involved in her antics and really do bring a lot to the story. And it is really kind of like a monster of the week show. Yeah. And there are episodes with like season long arcs as well of like a big bad, but really you kind of get introduced to these new creatures and people that Buffy needs to fight.
Yes. So every season does have one big bad. So it's like one main bad guy or bad girl that Buffy has to defeat by the finale. But then along the way, she does have like those smaller monster of the week kind of villains. In the beginning, a lot of them are vampires, and she does fight a lot of vampires throughout the course of the show, like the title would imply. But there's demons. She fights gods. She fights little creatures from the Black Lagoon, an Inca mummy girl, a fish man, a pack of hyenas. she fights a lot of...
There's an episode.
But things like steal hearts, yes. But the government, the literal government.
Yeah, we need
the force of all evil in the entire universe.
Also
she fights
the government.
Also the government. So now that we've laid the foundation for what Buffy the Vampire Slayer is, we're going to get more into themes after this quick break. Before we get into any more of the Buffy lore, let's do a little podcast business first. We would love for you to join our Patreon. One cheap as hell subscription to our podcast goes a long way to help us bring you these episodes from week to week. We offer a personalized shout out, a sneak peek at our PCJ Pop episodes, And for a little bit more, you can get a link to our uncensored videos from our regular episodes. You can go to patreon.com/popculturejunkiepodcast and subscribe right there. Okay, so let's talk about some major themes in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So Buffy is more than vampires and demon fights. Its resonance comes from layered themes, strong characters, and emotional honesty. So we're going to break down some of the overarching themes that are seen throughout the series. The first one that I'll touch on is adolescence and the identity as horror metaphor. So Whedon himself framed Buffy as, quote, my so-called life mixed with X-Files. That is, the trials of adolescence, social angst, identity, isolation, all kind of expressed through the metaphor of monsters. There is a girl in the first season who feels so unseen that she becomes invisible. Buffy starts to hear voices in one of the episodes, and she thinks that she hears one of her classmates planning on shooting up the school, but come to find out he wanted to kill himself. So, and mixed in there is a lot of humor and laughs, but it's a lot of just like very strong metaphors for what you go through in high school. An overarching theme, at least in those first 3 seasons where they're all in high school together, is high school is hell. Their high school is literally sitting on top of the mouth to hell. I actually visited the high school that Buffy the Vampire Slayer was filmed at. It's Torrance High School in Torrance, California, and they hosted a Buffy prom. It was so fun, and we snuck tequila in and drank it in
just
the bathroom.
Like a high school prom.
I know. We were like in our cute little prom dresses, and like we were in the bathroom smoking and like drinking tequila, and these girls came in and they're like, we came in to smoke and drink too. I'm like, my God, this really is high school. So the idea of high school as hell is explicit. Teenage struggle, identity, social pressures, growing up in literal battlegrounds. So there is emotional pain throughout the series, loss and betrayal, a lot of romance, people finding love, losing love, battling with addiction. Willow battles with addiction, and it's very strongly implied that it's like metaphor for drug addiction, right? She goes to like a drug house at one point, but in the show she's battling addiction to magic and has her friends after she hits rock bottom kind of help pull her out of that. There's even rape dealt with in a couple episodes, which is very controversial, but there's a lot of heavy themes really mixed in with the laughs and the vampires.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of this, like, it's so important to remember, and like, this is 1997 to 2003, and this is on, cable television. So Buffy really was so provocative for its time. Now we look back and we're like, oh wow, this is basic, like, vanilla feminism 101. Yeah. But at its core, like, Buffy was such a female empowerment show and really like a feminist retelling. I mean, Joss Whedon himself has a lot of issues, but he did write strong female characters and give voice to that. So at its heart, I would really say like Buffy is a subversion of this trope of damsel in distress, ultimately, right? And the show is really centered around her story and becoming a person and navigating such intense pressure on her to save people and be the person. And we look at like a mirroring of her with Xander, and he is kind of like this dumb idiot who's incapable, but Buffy is so strong and a leader in that. And Xander isn't all bad, but he is quite big dumb. Is what I would describe him as. Xander's
big dumb. He does have his moments, especially he says, when I'm alone and I'm afraid, all I think to myself is, what would Buffy do? And that gives me strength. Yeah. And Buffy feels that intense pressure, especially she alone will save the world from vampires and demons. So even if she has her friends around her, the responsibility lives and dies with her, which is why she gives up her life for the world so many times.
Yeah, and we see a lot of different types of strength within the female characters. Like, they're not all one note. So you see it through Willow, you see it through Faith, you see it through Buffy.
Even Dawn.
Yeah, Dawn as well. There's so many different people, like women. I think that's why it has really resonated with so many women throughout 30 years of it being a show, because it was such an early introduction to, you can do it, you can save yourself, and you can, have friends and a fulfilling life.
I totally agree. I think that Buffy is a feminist show. There are parts of it that are problematic. Absolutely. There's things that don't age very well from, 2000 and whatever to the 2000s.
Like most things from the 90s.
Yeah. So you will watch some episodes back and go, ooh, they really need to fight that thing. Like, they really need to say that. But I think at its core, it reminds me of like Sex and the City, like the feminism of the time. This is a woman paving her own way, doing her best. She's not perfect, but she's my favorite television character of all time.
Yep.
There's friendship, chosen family, and sacrifice. So the Scooby Gang, they aren't background characters. It's really an ensemble cast. They have bonds, conflicts, loyalty issues, sacrifices. Buffy literally sacrifices her life to save her sister, who only becomes her sister in season 5. It's very strange.
R.I.P. Michelle Trachtenberg.
Oh, I know. Oh, and she was so wonderful in that role. So Buffy has to make a lot of choices that are hard. Protect her friends, protect the world, sometimes sacrifice personal relationships. She literally kills Angel, and she loves him so much. But she does it because she knows that she has to. And that is just like the responsibility that should never be with, a teenage girl, but it lies with Buffy, the chosen one.
Yeah, and of course, in most things, we've referenced a few different characters dying, but death, grieving, and trauma are really within the show. It is not just like, Scooby-Doo, where, everybody lives and everybody's happy. And it's not always really like neatly folded up either. There are some permanent losses, others like haunt the survivors. You still see like those echoes of individuals. And season 6 is often cited as quite dark. And we see a lot of those themes within the later seasons as they leave high school and they become older and start to see really what the cost of living is, I guess.
Yeah, I've read a really good novel called Into Every Generation, and it really breaks down season by season. And season 6 is definitely known as like the darkest Buffy season, so much that they kind of had to like, all right, season 7, we got to get people laughing and smiling again because season 6 was so depressing. It is my favorite season. I love season 6. And Buffy is reeling from the death of her mother. And when I was in college and watched that for the first time, I had just lost my mother. And I related to Buffy so much with feeling like she had to be the one in charge of her family. She had to be the one to pick up the pieces. She barely had time to grieve because she had so much responsibility on her. And there's a lot of permanent deaths. Joss Whedon is not afraid to kill his characters in like a lot of his shows.
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, man. Don't get too comfortable like with a favorite character if you're watching a Joss Whedon product because they might die. There's also the themes of power, destiny, and free will. So Buffy is the chosen one, but it also raises an ongoing question for her. How much of her life is really her own? How much is it destiny? Can she really make her own choices, or is she just forced to, be the Slayer? She really falls back into it a lot in like the later seasons as she becomes an adult. But those first few seasons, she's like, I want to go on dates. I want to go to the mall. I don't want to slay vampires. Damn.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like if you came to me and were like, you have to start fighting vampires at like 15, I'd be like, I'm gonna go smoke some weed.
Yeah. How about no?
How about no? Yeah. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer, really, like we mentioned, was so ahead of its time. And it was one of actually the first shows with representation for LGBTQ themes. There is a lesbian relationship within it between Willow and Tara. And was it the first kiss of two women on network television?
Yep, the first on-screen kiss. Then it was in the episode where Buffy's mom dies, and it was just the most comforting. They're comforting each other, and just the most beautiful kiss. Yep, first kiss of a lesbian couple.
Yeah, which sounds today so odd, but really it was so groundbreaking back then. And ultimately, like, we needed that representation as well. We often had like a fade to black or a hint, hint, nod, nod. If you look closely, you'll understand that these people are in a relationship. But Buffy really flipped it on its head. I mean, Shauna mentioned that they were talking about a school shooting, right? And so there's so many of these taboo topics that Buffy paved the way to really seeing a lot of those deeper themes in a show like this, ultimately like a network television show. And so they really go into all of these cultural issues of gender, power, scapegoating, social norms, exclusion, and the sense of like otherness throughout it. And, you know, what's funny is one of the first vampire stories ever written, Carmilla, really is a allegory for lesbianism. And so, yes. And a lot of the time we see these themes within vampire stories as well.
Very sapphic.
Yeah. And I really loved that they brought that in, because I think it was, you know, in like the 1500s where Carmilla was first brought into it, and it was a theme for that, but don't quote me on the year.
Olivia with the history fun facts. Okay. No, I totally agree.
Literature.
I know. Also, in a book that I read by Evan Ross Katz, so the Into Every Generation, I love him. He is one of my favorite like influencers. He's a Sarah Michelle Gellar historian, quote unquote. And he talks about how Buffy coming out to her mom as the Slayer is really an allegory for like coming out to your parents.
Yes. Yeah.
And her so much, like, it was just mind blowing reading this, where it was like, are you sure you're a Slayer? Have you ever tried not being one? And she's like, this is who I am, Mom.
Liking peanuts?
Have you ever tried not slaying vampires? And like, you know, her mom eventually has to come to terms with this is who her daughter is. And, you know, we see her later like, will you be slaying tonight? Like being kind of like hesitantly accepting of it. And it's all, definitely an allegory for youth and coming out. Also, a Buffy fun first, the use of the word Google as a verb for the first time on television was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And it was Willow saying, I'm going to Google it.
That's very Willow. Very, very
That is
Willow.
So Willow. So why?
Oh, and I misspoke. Carmilla is from 1872. So
God, Olivia.
A couple years off there.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that. Gosh.
Everybody knows that. So why are we both still obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer? What is it now? 21 years after it went off of the air. Why, before we get into some of the reasons that, you know, we kind of researched, why do you still love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Olivia?
I think there is a sense of nostalgia. Like I said, like I grew up watching the show with my dad. I do find myself really loving strong female characters, and not like one note strong female characters. Mm-hmm. They have struggles and strife, and they make the wrong decisions, but ultimately at the end of the day they want to do the right thing. They help the greater good in some sense. And you know, I mean, I do think that it's just, I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar is so good in it. It is the right amount of serious but silly, and you can really watch an episode and, you know, no thoughts, just vibes, or you can really dig in to these greater themes within it. And yeah, I mean, I think that the chemistry that everyone has on that show is just top notch. What about you?
I agree with all of that. I think it's, the perfect mix of scary, like I'm always kind of in a Halloween-y vibe mood, and Buffy is perfect for that, especially the Halloween episodes. I rewatch those every year. But it's romantic. It's laugh out loud funny. There's action. It's really like relatable. Like I relate to Buffy a lot. Like I already mentioned, and just kind of growing up and becoming a woman and having so much responsibility on your shoulders, but still just wanting to vibe and have fun with your friends sometimes and go on dates. And I I don't know. I love it. It is definitely my comfort show. Whereas, people always say like The Office is my comfort show. Nope. That's fine too. Everybody has like their show that they put on. Mine is Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Sex and the City. Those are my comfort shows.
Great shows. Great shows.
Great shows. So for many fans, Buffy is tied to their formative years, emotional attachment, like you said, and kind of nostalgia. There is that rich world. There's an expanded universe. There are comic books that came out, which probably won't be canon anymore now that the sequel show has been announced, but that's fine because I didn't really like the comic books anyway. And such a strong community around Buffy. There's fan fiction, there's fan arts, there's message boards, there's Comic-Cons where people are still lining up to meet the actors. And these actors that are on Buffy are still so in love with the show. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar went years without, she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to be interviewed about it. She didn't really go to any cons. And over the last 10 years or so, she's really leaned into being like, you know what? I am Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That is me. This was so formative to me in my career.
Yeah. And, I do feel like a lot of that was the issues that the cast had with Joss Whedon. Ultimately, it came out that, it was in the 90s and 2000s. This power that a showrunner and producer and writer really had back then was quite unchecked. And there were some very toxic dynamics. And I do think after Sarah Michelle Gellar came out and spoke about that, she was able to re-find this love for Buffy almost. Yeah. And be like, okay, that is our show. It is not Joss's show. And ultimately, I think that it's been really, really beautiful. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, I mean, there's no Buffy without her. And she really wanted to bring Buffy back only if there was a good time and a good story and a good way to tell that.
Yeah. I think that is so important to talk about the Joss of it all. Charisma Carpenter was really the first person. Let me back up. It was actually Ray Fisher who first came out against Joss Whedon and spoke about his negative experiences working with him on the set of the Justice League. Ray Fisher played Cyborg and said that Joss Whedon created a toxic work environment, that he was abusive verbally, borderline racist, right? Just a bad person to work with. Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia Chase in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, then came out and said that she also had a very negative working experience with Joss Whedon. Fans of the show will know that Cordelia went on to have an arc in the Angel series that ended very negatively for her character. And she was such a beloved character, and they really butchered her. And come to find out behind the scenes, Joss Whedon was doing that to punish Charisma Carpenter, allegedly, for becoming pregnant. And he thought ruining the show. So he wrote her off in a very disgusting way on the show that really left a bad taste in fans' mouths and in Charisma's. So once they both released these statements, basically the entire cast of Buffy came out in support of them, which was really nice to see. And Amber Benson and Michelle Trachtenberg also both released statements about how toxic it was. So it's hard, we talk on the show about separating the art from the artist. And I think with Buffy, there are so many other producers and creators and actors behind the scenes and writers that it's not just Joss Whedon, right? So it's heartbreaking, especially as a mega fan, to find out that he sucks.
Well, yeah, it's hard to marry it with someone who writes such strong characters and
strong female characters. Yeah,
yes.
His ex-wife wrote about him just being a terrible husband, cheating on her, being a womanizer, and we're like, oh, for years we all thought he was such a feminist icon.
I feel like that really ultimately is very similar to my thoughts on Harry Potter as well.
Yeah.
Where, those, I do think there's a lot to be said, and we've talked about this at length on the podcast, of once a piece of art is in the world, it is no longer the artist, right?
Yeah.
And that could be for anything. People will interpret it differently and do that. And so when it's something that raised a generation, it is very hard to walk away from it. But yeah, ultimately he is not a great person, but he did bring some of our most beloved characters through his writing.
Yes, and after this break, we will talk about how the Buffy legacy is carrying on. So if Buffy has endured for decades, it only makes sense that the story might continue. And today, in 2025, that continuation is in fact underway. So there is a new project. It is a sequel, not a reboot, so don't let anyone tell you differently. The new Buffy project is being developed for Hulu. And most importantly, Sarah Michelle Gellar is going to be involved. She is going to be Buffy again, and she is going to be an executive producer. I am so nervous. I have dreams.
Oh, yeah.
I've had ongoing dreams for years of like them reboot, like I'm making a season 8 of what it would be and who would come back. And I am just nervous that it's going to be too teeny bopper. And the new lead, I'm sure she's going to be wonderful. Her name is Ryan Kira Armstrong. She's cast as the new lead Slayer. Buffy's probably going to be more of a leadership mentor kind of situation. But there are definitely a lot of actors and characters that we probably won't see return.
Yep.
First and foremost, Miss Michelle Trachtenberg tragically passed away earlier in 2025. She played Buffy's little sister in the original series and would absolutely have come back for this. Her and Sarah Michelle Gellar were very close. Nicholas Brendan has also had a lot of legal troubles, doesn't act anymore, is on the...
Not a great guy.
No, definitely a lot of domestic assault charges against him. My favorite character in Buffy-Verse, besides Buffy, is Spike. And James Marster is pushing 60, if not already there. Same with David Boreanaz, who played Angel. Unless we get some great de-aging technology, not sure how involved they're going to be either.
Yeah. They're going to put themselves in a hole with that whole immortal thing.
That whole not aging thing, which is so funny because James Marsters very clearly ages from like season 2 of Buffy to season 5 of Angel. And we're supposed to pretend like him and like Angel just look the same. They're both gorgeous. But yeah, how do you feel about this new series? Are you like me and like excited but nervous?
Yeah, I feel like most of the time my thought is I don't really want a continuation like of any of my old shows. Where I'm like, if it was a finished storyline, it's a finished storyline, right? Like a lot of the time we saw some early stills of her filming, and Buffy goes business. Is all I can say about those early stills.
Why is she's serving cunt? Like Buffy never wore stilettos.
I mean, Buffy had some of the most iconic fashion ever. No. Buffy is like my whole Pinterest board.
Oh my God, your wardrobe is Buffy's closet. No, Buffy is absolutely a fashionista. We could definitely do a breakdown of all of the iconic Buffy outfits. But she definitely never wore like stilettos. She wears like...
But she was young, you know? Yeah. Like, how would someone who had a sense of fashion grow up? But yeah, that's fair. Blazer took me out. I needed like a leather trench in there.
Yes.
More.
Yes.
But I love that you said my closet. My closet is Buffy because that's the ultimate compliment. So I am optimistic. I do think that Sarah Michelle Gellar would, with her being an executive producer, that there is a sense of love and responsibility to that character where she's not going to let it be bad. I think that this new Slayer ultimately has some crazy shoes to fill. And so I'm wary but excited, I guess. Like, I will definitely watch it. Like, when And Just Like That was announced, I was like, no way am I watching that. I never watched a single episode.
It was so bad. I know that makes me nervous. I mean, I agree. If Sarah Michelle Gellar was...
to gaslight me into saying And Just Like That is good.
Okay, that show was so bad that it was good until the very end, and then the finale was fucking bad. Like, I can't even say it was so bad it was good. It was just overall bad.
Yeah. It just kept getting worse.
It was bad. But so I agree. If Sarah Michelle Gellar was not involved, I would be a lot more nervous. But because she is involved, I agree. She's got that love for the character. And she did come out and say, you know, I wouldn't have done this if the script wasn't right, if the timing wasn't right. A lot of the producers are coming back, not Joss Whedon. He is not involved anymore. But we do have Gail Berman, Fran Kazai, and Kaz Kazai, who are all original executive producers.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. You know, I'll give it a few episodes for them to really impress me. But I am a purist. Like, if you mess up and do a reboot or continuation, like, I'm not going to love that most of the time. And so they've got a few episodes just out of love. But if it isn't there, then
I feel like I am legally required to watch the entire thing.
I mean, if you watched all of it and just like that, yeah, you are. Like, for example, I'm still to this day never seen Anchorman 2.
You don't need to. I've never seen Zoolander 2 for the same reason, because Zoolander is like one of my favorite comedies of all time. Yeah. And I was like, I don't need to do that.
I'm not going to ruin it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ruin it for cash grab, but I will watch Buffy. So what would you say, if you had to give someone listening to this episode who's never dipped their toes, what episode are we sending them into? We've given you an exhaustive breakdown of the general premise, but this is a little one to see, do I like this silly little monster show?
Oh my God, there are so many iconic episodes of this show. We, for just sake of time, are going to pick one each, but just know that there is an insane amount of commission to episodes.
We had a very, very hard time picking one to talk about each, and I'm like, anytime someone asks me what's your favorite, I somehow end up giving like 50 options. So
I know my favorite episode isn't the one that I'm going to mention. My favorite episode of Buffy, I think, is Tabula Rasa in season 6, where Willow does a spell to try to make Tara forget that they got in a fight, but accidentally erases everyone's memories.
I do love that one.
Yeah.
Little amnesia.
Yeah, I love an amnesia episode. I don't think it's great for first timers, because you need to know these characters to know why it's funny that they lost their memories. Otherwise, you're like, what's so different about this? But I love that episode. The episode that I will say for you have to like musicals to like this episode, I'm going to talk about the iconic Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode, Once More with Feeling.
Buffy goes to Glee.
Yes, but it makes so much sense. So it's the 7th episode of the 6th season. It is one of the best reviewed musical episodes of any series. And I think it's because it makes sense within the show. So Xander ends up accidentally summoning a demon that makes everybody sing and dance.
It's so good. It's so iconic. I love a musical episode. Do you remember when Even Stevens did that?
Oh, we went to the moon in 1969. I love that.
Yes. It's so good.
It's so good. I love a musical episode. And in this one, it makes sense why they're all singing and dancing. But if they sing and dance for too long, they spontaneously combust and die. So Buffy has to stop this, you guys. But along the way, there are a lot of musical numbers. So all of the cast members get to kind of tell their internal feelings through song. So Buffy talks about her struggles being the Slayer, coming back from the grave. Dawn briefly talks about feeling left out. Tara and Willow are in love. Xander and Anya are having relationship issues. And Spike, first of all, okay, I haven't asked you this yet. Are you team Spike and Buffy or Angel and Buffy?
So when I was young, I was Angel and Buffy. And then now that I'm hardened by the world, I'm Spike and Buffy.
I am so team Spike and Buffy. No hate to Angel and Buffy fans. They are iconic, but I am a Spike and Buffy girl. I love me a bad boy. And as I age, I kind of respect Riley some more.
Oh, yes. Okay. That's what Shauna and I had like a crazy debate about this. I was like, I think the hottest is Riley, even to this day.
Mark Blucas is so fine. He's so fine.
But yeah, Riley in the show is giving, he's giving cop. But yeah, so we don't love that part of Riley, but
no, but he really does love her, and they're just not the right fit.
Yes.
And you're like, but I think that, he probably went on, and we do see him in a later episode. He went on and got married, and fell in love. But like, justice for Riley. I hated him when I first watched the show.
Yeah, they do a good job at it.
Yes, this is the Once More feeling is right at like the climax of when Buffy and Spike is like that sexual will they won't they tension and kiss for the first time in this episode. And I remember watching this with Jessica and just screaming and rewinding the TV over and over again to watch them kiss.
Yeah, so good.
I will absolutely say give this episode a watch. If you hate musicals, then maybe don't. But like, it is just so well done. So good.
I'm not like a musical person, but it is so good.
Everyone sings really well too. Like everyone has a great singing voice.
Yeah, and for mine, I'm going to recommend the episode Hush. It is season 4, episode 10. It came out in 1999. When I think of Buffy, this is like one of the like first things that comes to my mind. Like this episode, it's really ingrained in my head. And like I mentioned, I started it while it was still on, but later. And in the episode, a group of fairy tale ghouls named the Gentlemen come to town and steal everyone's voices. And they leave them unable to scream when the gentlemen cut their hearts out. And for two gals who are on a podcast right now, we love a yap. From a young age, I love to talk. If you cut my ability to talk, really crazy.
Oh my God, Olivia, you and I would be so screwed.
We would be so screwed.
We are yappers.
I mean, I do think that we would have a good sense of understanding what each other's looks meant and what we were trying to say.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Ultimately, like that would be super scary, and they are spooky looking.
These are some of the scariest Buffy-Verse monsters. They are horrifying. So this episode is the perfect mix of scary and really funny.
Yes, exactly. And so, they're trying to figure out, like, how do we speak to each other? And it is really kind of like a goofy little, like, we don't have words. It's a lot of body acting.
Yeah, comical misunderstandings.
Yes, exactly. And it's just an iconic one for the show itself.
Oh, gosh, I agree. I mean, there's so many we could talk about. The graduation day episode is incredible.
I love it.
Becoming part 1 and 2. Doppelgangland, The Wish. There's a lot of like alternate universe episodes.
The Wish is really good. Yeah, that was almost one of the ones that I did, but it's not a good like you've never seen the show before episode to bring someone in because you have to understand the context of it.
Exactly. Same really with Tabula Rasa. They're kind of similar episodes where like alternate universe goofiness.
Yeah,
but
you got to know it.
Man, I could talk about Buffy for so long. I'm so happy we finally did
We've
this
been doing
episode.
it for 4 years, how we struck up our first one, still going.
Oh my God, I know. I'm glad that you ordered a drink at my bar and that we started talking about Buffy together. Well, that is it for this Buffy the Vampire Slayer 101 class. We'd love to hear about your favorite Buffy moments, so contact us.
Or if you watch any of them and you've never seen, we will shepherd you through that journey. We love when people reach out and say like, oh my God, I'm reading this for the first time. I'm watching this because of you guys. We will fangirl forever.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. If you were starting Buffy and you're like, I don't know, these season 1 graphics are pretty bad. Like, no, keep going. Get through it.
You must hold on.
You got to keep drinking. That's what they said, Professor. Olivia, where can the listeners find you?
You can find me, Olivia, on Instagram at Livy Maries, Livimariez.
And you can find me, Shauna, on Instagram and Threads at Shauna Trinidad. ShaunaTrinidad. And you can find Pop Culture Junkie at our website, popculturejunkie.com. From there, you can find our podcasts on any and all platforms, as well as our social media links, blog posts, and more. And of course, please follow, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Hell, do all of it. Knock yourself out.
Do it from the hell mouth.
And of course, we would love to have you join our Patreon because every subscription will help us bring you more incredible episodes like this one. Find us at patreon.com/popculturejunkiepodcast. Sign up for a sneak peek or get a super special shout out from us. And come back next week for another hit of pop culture.
The Pop Culture Junkie podcast is produced by Jeff Markin and Cheryl Lightfoot for the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.
So entertain